Welcome to the WP Builds podcast, bringing you the latest news from the WordPress community. Now, welcome your hosts, David Wormsley and Nathan Wrigley. Hello there and welcome to the WP Builds podcast. Once again, this is episode 122, entitled, Is Our Marketing All Wrong? It was published on Thursday, the 4th of April, 2019. My name's Nathan Wrigley from pictureandword.co.uk, a small web development agency based in the north of England. And I'll be joined a little bit later because it's a discussion this week. I'll be joined by David Wormsley from davidwormsley.com for our topic about marketing. Before we begin all that, a couple of things I'd like you to do, if that's possible. Head over to the wpbuilds.com website. There's a menu at the top, and if you click on the first link, which is called subscribe, you can subscribe to 2 mailing lists. The first one lets you know about this, the podcast, and the Monday WordPress Weekly News, because we do that on a Monday. You can sign up to those with one newsletter, and the other form is for the alerts, WP Builds deal alerts updates. And the idea of that is that as soon as I hear about a WordPress deal, I will pen an email and send it out to you. It'll all be plain text and with a very straightforward title, subject line, so that you'll know whether you wish to delete it or not, or if it might be something that you're interested in opening. On that same page, you can join us by subscribing to iTunes or Google Podcasts. You can obviously download this episode on your favourite podcast player, listen to it in the car and so on. There's a Facebook group where you can join over 1,900 members. We'll also provide updates for everything that we produce over at our YouTube channel, Messenger updates and Slack as well. So all of that is on the subscribe page. The next one is the deals page, /deals, and there's loads and loads of products on there, WordPress products. You can get yourself 20, 30, 40% off. So go and have a look. We've got things like Project Huddle, Social Web Suite, Groundhog, WP Ultimo, just to name a few. So if you're buying things at the moment, maybe go and check out that page and see if you can get something off. /contribute if you would like to join me. We'll make a video about something that you've done recently that you're very pleased with. Could be something to do with WordPress. Perhaps you've done something with advanced custom fields or pods or Elementor or something like that and you want to show it off. Go for it. Show us your stuff and we'll put it out on the YouTube channel and alert people that you've done something incredible. And last but by no means least, /advertise. If you are a product creator in the WordPress space and you would like to use the WP Builds podcast as a way of alerting an audience to its existence, feel free, fill out the form at wpbuilds.com /advertise. And we have audio ads and banner ads, and hopefully you will get your product or service in front of a wider audience. Speaking of which, somebody who's done that is David from the Page Builder Framework. Do you use a page builder to create your websites? The Page Builder Framework is a mobile, responsive and lightning-fast WordPress theme that works with Beaver Builder, Elementor, Breezy and other page builders. With its endless customization options in the WordPress Customizer, it's the perfect fit for you or your agency. Go to wp-pagebuilderframework.com today. And we do sincerely thank all of our sponsors for helping keep the lights on over at the WP Builds podcast. Right. Okay, let's get into the main content today. Episode number 122, Is Our Marketing All Wrong? Fascinating conversation today. David came with a problem. He's got to put a paper poster advert in a London train station, and he wants to know what's the best thing to put on it. He wants to know what will tug on the heartstrings of people who are thinking about buying a website. Is it emotional or is it logical? Well, find out in today's episode.
This discussion we're calling Is Our Marketing All Wrong? So I've got a bee in my bonnet. Well, actually, I've got a problem, and that's really what I'm talking about. I've been trying to advertise our services because luckily work's been coming in via someone else. And now I've got the opportunity to put a poster up offline to advertise our services.
An actual paper poster?
Yeah, real stuff out there. So it's going to go.
Nobody does that. That's great.
Yeah, well, I'm just fortunate. It's my wife's old business that used to be a coffee kiosk on a station in London, railway station, and we can just stick up a poster for our services. So we're going to give that a bash because I think it has about 1 million people pass through that station on a yearly basis. So it's probably not unique. I think that's their footfall.
Yeah.
It's not you back again. So, anyways, but that's the idea. So, but also, sorry, there's a bit of backstory for this one. Recently, I've been reading a book, and we'll discuss this, I think, later, called "Don't Split the Difference." Great book on negotiating. I'm sure there's a discussion in that, but it reminded me of something that I think we all know, that most of our decisions are made with our emotions. And in fact, this guy, reminds me of something I didn't, I've forgotten completely about, is that there were some brain studies there where some people without the ability to use their emotions because of damage, brain damage, just found they couldn't make the actual decision. They could work out the pros and cons of anything, but couldn't make the decision,
Wow.
Just pointing that out. I thought that was,
that is
but we've
interesting.
And anyway, and then finally, and we're pinching from our friends, particularly Kyle Van Duzen over at the admin bar. He posted something about one of his competitors that they've run in a campaign. By coincidence, also over train stations, they got billboards as well saying your site is ugly or your site sucks, and they got a kind of campaign on making ugly sites, fixing ugly sites. And I just thought, wow, this was really interesting, because I just think we don't focus on the emotional in our marketing. And that's really led me with an idea of what to do with this poster.
Before we begin this episode, I should say that I am the most useless foil for you here today, because my marketing skills are less than zero. So I'm just going to speak from the depths of ignorance. I hope that everybody understands that none of what I'm about to say is based on any research or fact or common sense, frankly. But there we go. So, So what are you taking out of this advert? We should probably describe the advert that may have been the focus for the admin bar post. It's kind of it's a poster which points to a website and says something along the lines of, well, let's get the word exactly right. It says, we fix ugly websites. And then there's an arrow to what is supposed to be an ugly website. And it probably is quite ugly. Do you think pointing out to potential customers that their site is ugly, do you think they're going to take that personally? Is it the right message? What do you think?
I think there's a bit of a problem maybe with that. I mean, certainly you wouldn't want to use somebody's real, you wouldn't want to shame somebody. But, I don't think you would take it personally if you just said your website is ugly and I read it, because I know it's a billboard. I know they're not talking to me. I would probably, because I've got plenty of website shame. There are websites out there of mine which need fixing up, and I know about it. And this might just hit at my emotions, right? Because I know I need to sort out this ugly site that I know is ugly. So it might work, you see. And I like this. It's hitting at my emotions.
So that's the point. The idea is we're supposed to, with this marketing campaign that you're trying to create, we want to get people emotionally involved, because ultimately that's where our decisions are based. And I'm in agreement. If I see something like that, I mean, what it doesn't say, to be very clear, it doesn't say your website is ugly. It does not say that. It says we fix ugly websites. But the principle here being that if you've got an ugly website, you know your website's ugly. You know that it needs fixing. So it tugs on those strings a little bit. Yeah. I think to that extent, I think it's probably quite a successful message. I mean, like you say, it's not going to be taken personally by me. There's no way I'm going to look at that and go, "Oh, they wrote that for me. My website's ugly. How dare they?" But then again, if you change the language slightly and did say, you have an ugly website, get off your backside and fix it, lazy, or something like that, then yes, it's probably not going to work out. But I think that's okay. It definitely hits the thing that you said about decisions being emotional for them to work.
I think, and this is, I've been struggling with this for some time because when I did a first site, I mentioned this before, it was very factual, and then I kind of changed and I made it more neutral. But what we tend to focus on, and I'm just the same as most of the sites that I've seen, I think it's true for most of us. We concentrate on what we can offer above just the website to show the value.
Yeah.
So we talk about our web strategies, we talk about return on investment, traffic conversions, lead generation, peace of mind with care plans, and all of these kind of things. But they are pretty much all non-emotional. They are all logical. They are all what supports why you might want to invest your money in it.
Yes.
But yeah, it's value, because we're so keen on value, because it's the only way that we can kind of get paid what we're worth, that I think it's meant that we've missed out the stuff that's emotional triggers. But I could be wrong.
Well, no, I think I looked at my website when we were having this conversation before recording it. And at some point I had been absolutely, I did, and to some extent still do, completely buy into that whole thing as well. And so mine is all about getting an investment back off your website. But you're right. I'm not sure that's the most effective thing. I should probably run some sort of A/B split test and completely change the messaging. So instead of it being, essentially the idea is you need to get a return on your investment. To go for something like, we'll make your website look up to date. Have something a bit more like that, which is a bit more personal.
Yeah.
We'll make it look modern, or whatever the messaging might be, and see if that works better. I wonder if it would.
I don't know. I mean, I don't think we would need to change our websites that pointed out the value in some way, because I think if you've made an emotional decision, if that's correct and that's something's got you to lead you to thinking about it, you do need to have the rationale to back up your decision that was emotional, don't you? So in some ways, a website clearly showing where that return on investment, if nothing else, is something for the client to justify for themselves their emotional decision.
Are you going to go down the route of, do you think this is ultimately, do you think you are going to go down the route of the ugly website on your poster? Are you going to mention ugly websites or rephrase it in some way?
I'm going to do it. This is my theory. This is what we don't. I'm going to try it anyway. It could be wrong, but I think in the context of a poster, that's fine, because we could try it and then swap it with another poster very easily. But I think the thing is, what I've noticed is that we don't focus on the things that I think make the job sometimes joyful. I had a couple of good quick builds with people, and thinking about it, what made them go great was the fact that the clients got involved in the creativity side of it. I know this is all the stuff that requires a bit of tongue biting for us. We usually at odds when we're trying to design, and they're trying to design for us as well. But they did enjoy being involved in that, the fun element of it, because it's something different from what they're doing. They did, I think, particularly when I was allowing people to do certain stuff on their page builders to a lesser or greater extent, they got really proud of what they could do for themselves. And even if you restricted people, I think nearly all of us are selling something where they can update their content. That's the whole point of being with WordPress, isn't it? Mm-hmm. So I think, we don't focus on those things because they're usually the things that get in the way when we're trying to design something for someone. But I think they are all emotional. And I think, somebody in the Beaver Builder Facebook group was confessing to loving Wix adverts. It's Nathan Simpson. And I went to watch a few of those, and I just thought they so nail that. Those kind of elements of, the creativity, feeling good about yourself, looking good,
Yeah, the Wix adverts, if I'm not modelling up the Wix adverts with, say, Squarespace ones, it's kind of like a shot of somebody who's obviously like quite, moderately successful, very clean cut and what have you. And they're up by a computer and they're sort of saying, oh, I'm just going to change something on my website. I just want a picture of me on the homepage. And, oh, look, here's what I do. I click, and it's done. Look at that. And they're very proud of themselves. And actually, in a way, that's what the client wants out of their website, isn't it? That that moment of satisfaction where they're doing things successfully. It looks really great. Of course, they have slightly forgotten that somebody needed to Photoshop that image so that it was, and the lighting needed to be perfect when all of that kind of stuff. But you're right. I agree. They have. It makes it all look so seamless and easy and straightforward. And it's a million miles away from the value proposition of this is going to give you a return on your investment. This is going to make you blah, blah, blah. It's more, look how easy this is to do. Look how much fun we're having changing this website.
I know, and I've just been thinking about the work we've got. I mean, it's hard for me to judge because it's come through someone else. I'd love to be put in my place on this, but I do think that most of the work that we've got have been very old sites that have been left to go, and they've been embarrassed by them, which has put them off and meant that they don't spend. Like me, when I've got a site that I've built that I like, I spend a lot of time looking at it.
Oh,
my
ego.
Oh,
I do that. And that's
yes.
Weird. Yeah.
And then when it's one that is too old and I really know I should fix it, I try and pretend it doesn't exist on the internet. And I think that I think that's what clients are doing. So in some ways, the website shame brings the work to us, and on the other hand, I think they resist coming to us a little bit because they just don't want to deal with that ugliness there.
It's really interesting. Sorry, you carry on. I apologise.
No, it's fine. But you said something to me because I was saying, do you think they come in because of the looks rather than the return on investment? And for you, it was, well, you say what it was that you said to me.
I can't remember. What did I say?
You said actually most people are just solving a problem because the person who comes to you often is sort of handed the job of getting this website.
I see. Yes, yeah.
I was just... Yeah.
I think that's true. I think for, certainly quite a lot of the clients that I've had, I'm thinking more recently, actually. I don't know if this is a trend over time, but it seems to me that they've been given the task of building a website from their boss. And to some extent, they just want it off their task list, so they're happy to go with me. The pricing was right and so on and so forth. And we don't really get too much into all that stuff. And I don't do a lot of this marketing anyway, so I'm not sure exactly what's effective. But I think there is a little bit of that, but obviously, given all of that, people would far rather have a nice website than an old one. And I'm just bringing it back to where we were a few minutes ago. Do you think the idea of the visual appeal, then the way it looks, is going to be a better advert for you than the return that they're going to get on the investment? And if that's the case, have you decided which elements of how it looks you're going to focus on?
I don't exactly know what I'm going to do with this, but I think, if I'm going to go with the emotional guessing, the type of clients that we've had in, and that I think their main worry is the look of their site. That's what I'm going to try and concentrate what I say, whether I pinch entirely what someone else has done, but I think I'll tone down our message. It will be something, but I do think maybe I will focus on the things that we do, which will be a little bit about being proud of their websites again, and a little bit of hinting something at the fact that what we encourage people to do is to take more control of their own websites. So I'll try and combine the visuals with the control in a Wix style way.
Did when you were sort of conceiving that you've got this advert, how many words do you kind of have available to you on a poster? This one that we're talking about is very, very brief. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 words essentially, with a couple of others at the bottom. Once that message has appealed to you, are you going to go for like a very small amount of verbiage? Because everything that you just said, you could go into like whole paragraphs, couldn't you? But presumably for a poster on a busy train station, you've got to whack them in the gut with a couple of words.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I think that probably, We Fix Ugly Websites is a really good top line, and maybe you can just put a subheader to that, and that's about it. And then it needs to have some sort of call to action, doesn't it? And which would have to be a landing page first, but also would probably be my sister-in-law who they can contact to, and a little arrow pointing to where she is.
Go and talk. Really, go and talk to her in the real world.
I don't know.
That's brilliant.
We haven't fully checked this all out. She knows that we're going to stick up a poster at some point there, and that she will answer query first. But whether we'll go to that extreme, because she'll have to take it down, I guess, when she's not there if we do that. But
and are you going to come up with a unique landing page for this campaign? Is that something that you would go to the lengths of doing? Where you are stressing that have you got an ugly website? You've come to the right place, kind of thing.
Yeah, I think so. Oh, well, I think it would probably, yeah, it would have to move on. I think from the positives or something, it would be more about, fix the look of the visuals of your site and then move into all of the benefits of that. Because then, if they've emotionally reacted, this is what I think I'm trying to get at with this one. Then I need to go on to the logical reasons for why they need to. They need the justifications to go with their emotions. If the theory is right, that is.
Well, there's a lot resting on that, isn't there? Well, I was just thinking, as we were recording this, I was thinking about the reason that a lot of people change their clothes. I don't mean on a daily basis so that you've got new, fresh clothes on that are clean. It's more, why do people perpetually go into clothes shops and buy clothes that they already have? And the reason is because of fashion, isn't it? The way that things change and the look. And I was wondering if that might be, like a fun way of doing it. Here is a person from the 1970s. I can't think of a worse era to pick for clothing. I'm going for the 70s. Here's somebody from the 70s. Here's somebody now. Here's a website from 5 years ago. Here's a website for now. Because you and I, obviously, we spend our day on the internet. We know what a tired old website looks like. But it never ceases to amaze me when I give my clients a page builder what they think looks all right. So their idea of modern and acceptable and up to date is totally different to mine.
Yes. Well, we've often referred to a comic that comes up all the time for that design process, isn't it? Where we're all on the same page about what's ugly, and then as the design goes and the client gets more involved, it turns into exactly something very similar to what they started with. And we know that, and I think that's the problem. But I just think from the selling point of view, they were on the same page in the sense that they knew. I think you kind of nailed it, actually. I know we might just nick what you've just said, really, for the idea of putting it in fashion terms. But I think for that initial, all we're trying to get is the first inquiries, really. So I think that is an emotional trigger for them, the fact that they're a little bit ashamed.
Yeah, because on the one hand, if the functionality of the site is wrong, let's say, for example, that they need an e-commerce solution now, they need some new functionality, or their website is broken, they need some new functionality. But my guess is that most websites, certainly a lot of the work that I've been doing recently, has been nothing to do with the functionality. Everything works perfectly fine. The messaging is broadly the same. They've got a contact form. They've got an About Us page. All of that stuff is existing already. It's just about making it look up to date with presumably the critical eye that they've got as a regular web user. They've come to that decision themselves and thought, oh, well, this isn't quite up to date now. The trends that we're seeing online from our competitors, we seem to be playing a bit of catch up. So that's why we need it. And so from that point of view, it's perfect. Because it's exactly the message that you want to deliver. It's got out of date. It's not your fault. You didn't change the way that the industry's moved. You didn't decide what is now on vogue and what color palettes and what fonts and what layouts now look good. But they have been foisted upon you, and it's time to move on.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, there's one danger with the trying to upfront sell the value as well. It can go two ways, can't it? I mean, I was saying about sociology and looking at when in the UK, when the national lottery came in, it was considered a tax on the poor because the people who had the biggest money problems would tend to be the poor. So they would look to that to solve, their problems. That would be their dream. And similarly with sociology about the cosmetics industry, particularly how it affects women, so they can charge a fortune on basically a tub of fat, as long as it's got a few active ingredients in it that's associated with promoting younger skin. And these are kind of emotional triggers that get people to invest. And I think sometimes if you put the money in as your return on investment, doesn't that have a slight danger that it will only appeal to people who have got money troubles?
Yeah, and also who've got that thought process in their head.
Yes.
If I'm driven, well, I don't really know how to frame the next sentence, but I think some people are driven towards a certain type of logical message, and I think other people are drawn towards a different message, one where fashion and up-to-dateness and modernity and all of those things apply. I think you're absolutely right. It's interesting because I have always done marketing for my website, which is awful. That is to say, I basically don't do any. I've always focused upon the logical stuff, which you've listed out, return on investment, the amount of traffic you're getting, the conversions. You've done a wonderful list. I'm just reading off it, lead generation, branding, and all of that. And then finally getting onto things like peace of mind with care plans and what have you, and we'll do it all for you. I've always focused on those kind of things. And actually, I think you're right. I think hitting them in with the emotional stuff, it looks great. Well, it's every bit as good, I would have thought, as getting people onto your landing page as the logical stuff, probably better.
Yeah, I think it's. I mean, no, I don't want to say this is the right and everything else is wrong. No, definitely not. This is. I just think I think we're missing a tool, and that headline there. It's so easy to criticize it and just say, oh, that's not going to work there because you're just you're putting down people's websites, and that's not a good way to go forward. But I just think maybe there's a little bit of genius because we do forget the psychology behind sales.
Well, you only have to look at the adverts on television, or if you indeed look at the adverts on the billboards around town, they do very often focus on the way things look, and that's something that you've got. Luckily, you're in an industry where the way things look is an absolute. It's a cast iron thing that you can bring to bear. There's a lot of people who are working in industries where it doesn't look like anything. It's hidden from view. It's a part inside another part that you'll never see. But you've got that in your arsenal. You can draw attention to the fact that old is old. Old's not working. Old is ridiculous. Old is not going to make people happy. And you can go for new. I guess the problem might arise is how many times can you do it? How often can you go back to old customers and say, look, your site's looking a bit out of date, it's a bit ugly, I think we should update it. My feeling is it's like 3-year cycle or something like that.
Yeah, there is that. But, in some ways we already know, we must have all had this situation where every bit of logical reason has been put forward for why they might not want to have certain type of animation or slider or something that looks in a certain way on a site, but you just can't get them to budge because they've just decided they're not thinking like we would like them to think, which is, what's the visitor, what's your type of visitor, how they're going to respond with it. It really is personal to them, I think. And we know it, don't we, in our clients? So I don't know why we don't exploit it maybe a little bit, in our first advertising.
This is going to be the world's first ever A/B tested poster campaign. I think what you should do is you should have 2 or 3 posters and get, is it your sister?
Yeah, sister-in-law.
Get your sister-in-law on a daily basis to change the poster on an ABC cycle, and then you can monitor the traffic coming in on a daily basis and see which is the winner. Do people do that in the real world? Do posters get A/B tested, I wonder?
I don't know. We've been lucky if we get 5 websites for advertising for 5 months.
All of this heartache and thought put into your little poster, which will not be seen. I'm wondering though, if on the landing page you make this the focus of it. So somebody's obviously been hit by the message of, oh goodness me, my site's really ugly. I really must do something about it. I saw a poster. Right, I'm going to go to their page, and luckily they've scribbled down your URL or whatever, and they've come to your page. Do you just allude to the fact that they've got an ugly website and then go straight back to the old tried and tested logical stuff to hammer the message home, or do you just go all in on the ugliness of it and keep banging away at that message?
I think this is yet to be seen. I haven't got that far in my thought process, but I think you're right. We'll need to put in all the regulars, all the extra benefits. You know what? There is thing because of me. Now it's getting to be all about me now, but because of the fact that I very much focus on they can take control, they can do more on the page builder side that allows those type of clients who desperately want that. I will try and build that in a lot into. I don't know how I will do it into the advertising. But I think that's
right.
I think that's an emotional.
The fact that they can do it. I see. Sorry.
Yeah, I think that's an emotional trigger though. Still, do you see what I mean? I think that's what Wix are doing quite well. It's because the same reason why we're at odds with them when they're trying to design and we're trying to design the same thing. But I think that is part of, for many clients, I think not just the ugliness of their site and that shame. I think also the feeling that they can be proud of having control over their website.
Yes.
It's them.
Yes,
you know?
absolutely. That, like we said earlier, it's a double-edged sword. Not only can they make it look wonderful, they can also really
Yeah,
mess it up.
exactly.
So it's a
Yeah,
bit, like I say, a double-edged sword.
not for
Yeah, good
everyone, for
luck
sure.
with your poster then.
Thank you.
When are you hoping to get this up? Like
Oh,
soon?
I don't know. I've got a bit of work coming up, so it probably won't be going out for a month or so. But yeah.
Can I
Anyway.
ask, which train station do we need to go to see the poster?
Palmer's Green.
Ah, there we go.
It'll be very ugly.
Everybody rush to Palmer's Green. Yes, that would be great if you did a really ugly poster.
Well, there we are. Do you want your website to look less ugly than this poster?
Do you know what? There's some part of me that would be drawn to that just because it's so self-deprecating. I bet that it wouldn't suit most people, though. Right. Do you think we've done?
Yes. I think we're definitely done on this one, yes.
As always, there's almost no value whatsoever, just me and David rabbiting on. I think to call it is our marketing all wrong was highly ridiculous, because it really hasn't been about marketing at all. It's been about your poster, which has been fun to talk about. But let us know, do you think this is a silly idea, the idea that your website looks ugly? Is that a thing that we should do more, advertise on the emotional level as opposed to the logical level? Let us know. Put some comments in the Facebook group, or indeed on the website, and we'll get to the next podcast next week. Well, thank you for joining us on the WP Builds podcast today. I hope you enjoyed that. I certainly did. It was an interesting aside. We don't normally talk about marketing and things like that, and it was fascinating talking to David about his quandary of his new advert that he's got to place in Palmer's Green. If you're in London, go and see if you can find it. The WP Builds podcast was brought to you today by WP and Up. 1 in 4 of us will be directly affected by mental health-related illness. WP and Up supports and promotes positive mental health within the WordPress community. This is achieved through mentorship, events, training and counselling. Please help enable WP and Up by visiting wpandup.org/give. Together, we can #press forward. Okay, that's it for this week. Join us on Monday for our news bulletin, next Thursday for our podcast, but also go and check the webinars page out, because we've got one of those with Chris Badgett from Lifter LMS this week as well. I hope you have a lovely week. Thank you for listening once more, and I will say bye-bye for now as I fade in the cheesy music.